Well, hello. Welcome to this fireside chat with my very good friend and fellow business owner, albeit different businesses, but we've known each other for far too many years. But we have lots of fireside chats, whether it's in this country or in other countries. We did one in Dubai.
Dubai, not too long ago.
I know. So today's conversation is about money. Because if you've got a business with no money, it's a charity.
True.
Or it's a hobby.
A hobby.
A hobby.
A hobby. Hobby's what I say. I do say that. I say you got a hobby.
Yeah, you recognise some of the expressions. So we're going to talk about money, but I want to come at it from a different angle. And I know this topic is right up George's street.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's. I always say that. Regardless of whether we're in a great economy, we're in a downward economy, whatever the heck this is we're going through right now.
Yep.
The truth about it is all businesses need to put money right at the top of the pile. It's not to the exclusion of everything else, but it needs to be up there as the priority, the focus of the business. Get that right, and then you get to do everything else. So I think, given what we're going through as business owners, small business owners especially, money, I think there's never been a better time to discuss what to do with money, how to make it work.
Yeah. Let's talk about the dirty subject of money. Yeah. So I've got a few slides. But it's going to be mainly a conversation, and I'm going to start with a quiz. Okay, so you can play along at home with this. But in fact, I'm going to make it really interesting for you, George, because I know you have a penchant.
A penchant
for a certain drink,
perhaps.
So
okay, yes, definitely.
I know you like your JD.
I am a fan.
I know you like your Coke as well.
I do. Do you know what? This will deeply upset many connoisseurs of whiskey and Jack Daniels. I have to say, I do love Jack Daniels, but only with Coke Zero.
No, I've let it down.
Oh, full fat. No, you got sugar. No, you're there.
Oh, that's all right.
You nailed it.
Oh, okay.
Come on then.
It's the detail that counts.
So how do I win it?
How do you win it? Because it'll come back to me if you don't.
Okay.
I'm going to show you 5 pictures which will come up here.
Okay.
And you tell me, yes or no, whether it's an example of money.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
Full disclosure, I have no idea this was here, so I'll play along.
Okay. First one.
Is it an example of money? I would say no.
Okay, I'll let you know after the 5 how many you've got.
Okay.
Well, just out of interest, why is it not an example of money? Because it can make money, can't it?
I guess it depends on its usage, right? So I guess if the guy was having it or the farmer was using it to make milk, it could be an asset, and therefore you could argue it could be an example of money.
You could argue it's an asset. I would argue it's a liability on the other side of the balance sheet.
If it's a pet,
because you've got to feed it. Water it,
for sure.
House it, keep it warm. Vet bills.
It would have to make a lot of milk to be an asset. I'll grant you.
Okay, number 2.
Go then.
Is that an example of money?
It's as make believe as real money is. Maybe we'll come on to that topic at some point. But no, I don't think you can spend it. So I would say no.
You can't spend it.
No.
Okay. What about this then? That's paper money.
So.
Is that money?
So, well, I feel like it's a trick question, and I feel like I'm being set up. Obviously, the answer is yes, because it's rolls of $100 bills. I have my own views on money and the origins of money and what money really is.
We might unlock that.
So I don't want to even jump the gun, but maybe you're going or go against what you're saying. For me, I would say yeah. For the purpose of this game, that is money. I can spend it. I can exchange it. It's yeah. So yeah, for the purpose, I'm going to say money, and
you'll say yes to the dollars.
I'll say yes to the dollar.
Okay, number 4.
Sound like a rapper now. Yes to the dollar.
Gold.
Oh, okay.
Gold.
Oh, bloody hell. Okay.
Is that money?
Is it money? So I would say no.
Yeah.
Only because I don't think, and under the rules, I don't think I could take that and exchange it. I think I'd have to turn it into money in order to spend it. And I guess for the purpose of this game, I'm thinking money is exchangeable stuff where I can hand it over, purchase something, exchange for something. So yes, obviously it has an intangible worth. Obviously it's definitely an asset, one of the strongest ones ever. But I don't believe, even if I'm wrong, I don't believe I can go in and just say, can I have a new car? Here's some gold worth so much money. I think I need to. So I'm going to say no for the purpose of this.
Okay.
Right.
What about silver then? You've got something against gold. So what about silver?
Okay, so
Coins of the realm. Well, it actually starts. It's a silver dollar.
it's a silver dollar. So
There's no more looking.
So you wouldn't want to be spending the way I'm talking about, because I imagine it's worth more than $1. So I'm going to say, for the purpose of this, I'm going to say, without knowing the rules of the game and feeling a little bit trapped, I'm going to say no for the same reason I said no to gold, which is unless you want to spend $100 of gold in order to buy $1, I would say that's not.
So not money, yes money, not money, not money. So 1 out of 5.
Yes, given.
Okay.
Go on. I'm a suspicion I've lost.
Close, but no cigar.
How's it go?
Right. So, I'll keep that here.
Go on then. Give me a chance to win it later. Give me a chance to.
Double or quits.
Give my money back.
It's an interesting one. There's two sets of money.
Yeah.
Or the 2 examples of money.
Yeah.
Which is the gold and silver. So I don't know whether you've seen this, George.
I saw you walk in with it. The gloves are coming on. The gloves are coming on.
Trust me, I'm a doctor.
Are these going to fit me?
They do stretch.
Okay, good. I don't.
That's all right. I've got a few more in the car.
Okay, let's go, man. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be using this on my podcast as an audio. I don't know how well this is working on audio. But hey, there you go. We're looking good, man. Go on.
It's amazing what people do if you tell them.
Last time
it's got no relevance.
Last time they were glass, I didn't question that either. And look what that got me.
Right, this is called a monster box.
Cool, lovely.
Right,
yeah.
You can see where it comes from on there. Read it out.
The raw mint.
The raw mint.
Yeah.
So this is what you might see in heist movies when people do bank jobs.
Yes, and this.
No gloves.
Amongst other things.
So inside of these, they're only plastic.
Okay.
I've got a few bits and pieces in here, but have a look.
Yep. Don't drop it, dude.
It's quite heavy.
It is heavy.
Yeah.
Right.
So usually you have tubes of coins.
So just pop it open?
Yeah, has that one got things in it? It's quite hard to
open. Tape on it. Is it okay or not?
Oh no. If you hand it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't go breaking your
That's fine.
seals or anything.
That's fine. So
I'm liking what I'm seeing already, Rob. I'll be honest with you. This is
so. There's 20 canisters.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying
you're liking that magic box.
You came to my studio in my house and bought this.
Don't spoil the reveal, though.
Oh, sorry.
So you get 20 of these canisters in one of those boxes.
Yep.
And in each of the they call them tubes.
Yep.
You can get 25 coins.
Okay.
So. That's a silver.
That's your silver dollar.
It's not a silver dollar. It's a British one because I'm.
It is
because I'm British. So I'm flying the flag.
Awesome.
And I'll show a picture for the audience, close up. That is 1 ounce of silver.
Okay.
And if you have a look at the side where there isn't Queen Elizabeth, we have another Queen, Britannia.
Yes.
Who was invented by the Romans 2,000 years ago.
For sure. Yeah.
That is how the Romans saw the British people.
Wow.
A woman. Yeah. A warrior woman with a shield.
Yeah. And
the seas.
Interestingly,
and an olive branch.
Well, interestingly, I was in Bath.
Yes.
For my 12-year anniversary, Tracy, and in our hotel they had some of the heist. I can't remember the name of it now. It was a major find at Bath's Bars, and they had a whole bunch of their Roman coins. And it really shocked me and surprised me just how similar. Bear in mind, this is over 2,000 years ago. How similar the money was still to today. So that. If you have a look, it says 999 fine silver. Yep. That means it's 999 parts per thousand. So it's almost pure. Almost, but not quite. Yep. And that's an ounce of silver. Yep. Any idea what that costs if you buy it today? I can honestly say I have no idea. I have a pure guess at, I don't know, 100, 200 quid maybe. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Most people would think about that. Okay. No, 30 quid. Okay, wow. Okay. Plus VAT. Plus VAT. But there's no capital gains tax. Okay. Because it's a coin of the realm. Gotcha. And the government doesn't take capital gains on legal tender. Okay, makes sense. So that's 30 quid. So you get 25 in there, so that's £750. Yes. You get 20 of those, that's 15 grand. Yeah, okay. If you fill that box. Okay, cool. So if you could pass it over, I'm not saying I don't trust you.
We've been friends a long
I
time.
might have palmed a few already. Had I known.
So that's silver.
Yeah.
Something very special about silver, apart from it being shiny.
Yeah.
It's the most conductive metal, even above gold.
Yeah, which is why you get it on circuit boards, etc.
That's it. Anything electronic, solar panels, anything, got a bit of silver.
Yep.
Do you know the biggest buyer of silver industrially in the world?
No.
China.
Okay.
For obvious reasons.
Obvious reasons, because buy most things.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go up to gold. I'll give you an indication. This is a gold, 1 ounce. In fact, it's a smaller coin, but weighs the same.
Okay, so it's still an ounce.
The gold is. Take it out. Oh.
Yep.
Don't worry about the gloves on that one.
That's all right.
So that is gold. You'll notice it's 999.9.
Yeah.
So that's almost pure gold.
Got you.
Almost, but not quite.
Got you.
Still got Britannia.
Yep.
Any idea what that would cost to buy today?
Well, I don't know if it's relevant or not, but it does say £100 on it, so I don't know.
You're right, because it does. Yeah, it does say.
So
That's the legal tender value, £100.
okay, so I could exchange this potentially. You're saying?
Well,
In a shop, maybe. Okay.
well, which shops do you go to?
Okay. I'm not sure they trust me. I don't really trust me.
Let's say, where did you get this from?
At the chip shop. Okay, so how much is that worth? Right, okay, so
Yeah.
I've got a clue now because that's 30 quid, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go 200 on this one then.
Okay, that's a good guess.
Okay.
But completely wrong.
Okay.
This is what.
That's what that's worth.
Yeah, that's £1,600
For that?
for that.
Wow. Okay.
Which is easier to put in your pocket.
Yeah, I know which one I'm nicking. I know this one's going up and this one's going down. So, yes, obviously, this one is more convenient.
It is, yeah. I'll have them back.
Not that bad, yeah. I'll still over here if you want. Okay.
However, it wasn't always £1,600
Right.
an ounce of gold.
Yes.
So my granddad in the 1920s had a 1 ounce Britannia coin,
Yep.
and he paid this.
Okay. 20 quid.
So a bit of a difference.
Yes.
Only 100 years.
Yes.
The only thing that hasn't changed is the gold,
Got ya.
because that's still 1 ounce.
Yep.
But that's 600 quid, but it was 20 originally.
Yeah. 1,600 you said there?
£1,600 today,
yeah.
and it's continuing to go up.
Yep.
£20, and in fact in the old days, well actually, keep up with that for a moment.
Cheers.
What makes that's not money, to give an answer to the quiz,
Yes.
that's currency.
That's right. Okay.
It's not money.
Yep.
Currency is paper based.
Yep.
In fact it's called fiat currency, like the Italian car.
Yep.
Fiat. F-I-A-T, which is a Latin word. What did the Romans ever do for us? They gave us Latin words.
They go to roads.
Yeah, so
A
fiat.
ridiculously complicated numerical system.
That's why we went metric.
And a good basis for some tattoos.
Yeah,
There
so
you go.
fiat means let it be done,
Okay, yeah.
or let it be so.
Yes.
So it's only currency, it only has validity because someone says it is.
Yeah, got ya.
So on the British note, it
Yeah.
says, I promise to pay the
Nice.
bearer of.
Yeah.
So who's making that promise?
Well, it used to be, I believe still is, the Bank of England. Is that right? Oh my God.
Well, there's 3 people on that banknote.
Well, the Queen herself,
Yeah, but she don't carry any cash. does
she doesn't carry any cash.
And the's William Turner, the painter.
Yeah.
I think on the £20, isn't it? Is it William Turner or is it another famous figure?
God, I don't recognise him.
That's William Turner.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So is it William Turner,
It's
the
the-
artist?
it most
Is it
definitely-
Queen Elizabeth?
It's neither of those two.
Or is it the chief cashier of the Bank of England?
It must be the chief cashier of the Bank of England.
Okay, who that job revolves, so it's not a very good promise, is it?
No.
Because the person who makes the promise usually goes within 5 to 10 years.
Yes.
So,
Quicker, perhaps.
so that actually is not money, it's a debt, because it's an IOU.
Yep, for sure.
Someone's promising.
Yep.
And I don't know whether you know, whenever we pay money into a bank, we lose ownership of that money.
Yep.
We think we own it because we have a bank statement,
Got you.
but actually we're creditors. to the bank.
Yep.
Legally, we've given up ownership of that money that we've paid in. And the reason that we have to give up legal ownership is that the bank will use it to lend out.
Yeah.
And you can only lend something if you own it.
Yeah, for sure.
Otherwise, that's criminal.
Sure. Yeah.
And we know banks aren't criminal.
No, never prove it, never.
If you, just on gold, a really interesting one, it is conductive, but not quite as much as silver. If you added up, melted all the gold that's been extracted,
Mm-hmm.
and added to it the gold that we know is under the surface of the earth,
Okay.
what sort of size, volume could that fill? Any idea what the 3 dimensions might be?
Oh, that's hard, isn't it?
That's ever been extracted
Including
and to be extracted.
Including in the Italian job.
Which is hanging over a mountain pass.
In Italy. Volume. I don't know. Volume-wise, weight-wise, I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing there's a fair chunk of it. I mean, just the bullion itself. There's a fair chunk of that, pallets-wise.
Yeah.
Obviously, all the gold jewelry is tiny. I get that. So that coin would make a hell. Well, we know from 600 quid, it makes a hell of a lot of earrings, right? Because you get gold earrings for about a tenner. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to describe the size of this thing. Let's say we're looking at. I don't know. You could fill a large hall with it.
Okay.
I don't know what that would weigh.
Yeah, it depends on the size halls you go to.
I'd say large hall.
It's 20 metres.
Okay.
By 20 metres.
Okay.
By 20 metres.
Okay.
The size of a swimming pool,
Okay.
in terms of floor area.
Right, so not a lot.
It ain't a lot.
No. I'm thinking a bigger hall than that, by the way.
You're thinking
big hall.
Sydney Opera House.
No, not quite that big, but somewhere definitely in between.
I'm going to talk about quantitative easing. Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Am I
show.
finished with these yet?
Yeah.
Which is amusing if I keep them on.
It's quite funny, especially when Tracy comes in. Right. So I'm going to give an example of what quantitative easing is. Some people will have heard of it. Some people may not have done. It's the ability of the authorities to print more money.
Okay.
In fact, they don't print more money, they just add zeros.
Well, we do a lot of that lately.
Yeah, so this is quantitative easing. So that's currency.
Yep.
And all you do, if you're running a bit short as a country,
Yep.
is you print more.
Mm-hmm.
Or put more into the system.
Sure.
So that is quantitative easing.
Yep.
What's the problem with printing more in circulation?
Well, if it was
currency,
if it was anything else, any other commodity, you'd devalue.
you would.
I'm not an expert on how money works like that, but you would say if it was anything else, you dump a load of extra stuff on it would potentially devalue it. The big issue, I'm guessing, which is something I know that originally all money, currency, was backed by the Bank of England, which was backed on gold, right? And one of the things, I don't know for sure, but I've heard many times, is that we no longer have anywhere near the amount of gold to support the amount of currency that's in flow.
It's true.
So is it a case that basically what we end up with is something that's completely unsupported?
Completely right.
Right.
Completely
Can I
right.
have a whiskey?
In my granddad's days, if he put that £20 into his bank account in the 1920s, the bank would have to deposit an ounce of gold, because that's what it was worth
Got you.
at that time. So that works well, because it means that if you go in to the bank, and particularly the Bank of England, you put your 20 quid in, you can get an ounce of gold.
Yep.
Wonderful. There's a problem with that, because as you take on more customers and more deposits, you need an ever-increasing vault.
For sure.
And that's a problem, especially if you're in New York or the City of London. Currency was always backed by gold, so it was as good as gold. Because bear in mind, this has been in circulation since the Egyptian times, as money.
Okay.
Because people traded with gold
Yep.
for 5,000 years. And silver then took over 2,500 years ago as money. People exchanged silver in exchange for goods and services. And now we use this stuff from trees, which has some vague promise from someone who's in their job for about 3 years on average.
Well, I heard, right, so again, I wish I could quote all my sources, but I heard that originally, what happened was people would have all of their possessions, or gold in this case, and gold. They'd have their gold, which was their wealth, and when they went travelling around the world, they didn't want to take their gold with them in case the boat sunk. So they would lock it up with, I think it was the blacksmith or something, and the blacksmith would write a note saying, "I've got your gold." So when you then came back on your travels, they would give you the gold back against that thing, less his percentage, right? And then what happened is people realised the gold was safer in the blacksmith than it was out with them in their houses. So what they did was leave it with the blacksmith, and they used to use the note to exchange, right? So it was like, look, I've got a million or 1,000 or 100, and then I would give you a piece of that. So I'd write you an IOU. Basically, which what these are only IOUs. So I said, right, IOUs, and I'd give you an IOU. So what it meant is at any point you could go to the blacksmith and get my gold on you, but actually it's safer for you to leave it in there than it is to have it. And I heard, well, I don't know if this is like legit or whether it's just a theory, that actually it got to a point where the blacksmith realised that no one was coming back to pick up their gold, so he started to write more paper than gold, because he realised that nobody ever did a run on the bank, if you like. So therefore, so that's what. So again, I can't quote 100% because I can't quote the sources, but it seems very plausible to me.
It does seem, and of course, there's only. If we printed money, we'd be arrested and end up in jail. But central government can do it through their banks.
For sure.
So it's legal for them, but it's not legal for us, unfortunately. Because they want to control the economies. But they don't really want the likes of you and I controlling an economy.
Got ya.
So, we used to have a gold, it's called the gold standard. So currency was backed by gold. We got rid of that, started to get rid of that in 1931. America eventually got rid of the gold standard in 1971, Richard Nixon. Since then, we've had floating exchange rates. And the reason why authorities wanted to cut the link with gold is so that they could print more money, because they wanted to control economies and the money supply. And you can't do that if you have to keep depositing gold, because we know there's only a big swimming pool full of gold in in eternity. Whereas all you need now is someone to print is to tap extra zeros, and now you've got money. Or currency.
All made up.
Do you know why it's called the quid? The British quid?
No, I don't.
It's the Romans again. Quid pro quo. Something for something. There you go. There's a little gem. So, I think that's enough about money. About currency and cash. So it's 2 out of 5. You don't get the booze, but I'm sure we might be able to share a tot or two. So, it is around money still, but changing the topic, what's the largest cost for the average person?
The largest
monthly cost, regular monthly cost.
Got to be mortgage, right?
Mortgage or rental? Close, but no.
Still not, okay.
Still bigger. Bigger than a mortgage or your monthly rent.
Bigger than your mortgage.
Does anyone out there got an idea what it might be? Bar bill?
Well, unless I don't know.
Gambling?
I don't know. But enough about your life. Well,
divorce, someone said.
Right.
That's a one-off cost.
Actually, it's not 50%, right? And for you, that's 50% every few years.
Only twice.
Okay.
I knew it'd be fun doing this with you.
It's not food, obviously. It's not
food. It's not housing.
What we got?
It's this.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah.
So, do you know what? When you ask that question, I have never known anyone to say tax. And yet, it's the biggest single cost for most people.
Yeah, of course it is.
Unless you're super rich, of course, but we'll come on to that.
Yeah.
Most people pay tax, and it's usually their biggest bill. So, I'm going to just walk you through the 5 stages of life. So, top right, baby. So that's 0 to 5. So baby, toddler. Does tax apply at that age group in any shape or form?
No.
Yes, it does.
Does it? I can't remember.
Well, unless you're not going to feed the
every
baby.
Product you buy is tax. Right. Okay. So no. Yes.
The pram.
So, right. So of course. Yeah. Every product you buy.
The petrol you put in the car to take it because it can't go to sleep. So you're taking the car. Yeah.
So
at least VAT.
Yeah, for sure.
At least VAT. And then you go to school. What's the main purpose of education?
Oh, that's a
15 years if you're lucky, if you make it all the way.
You'll get my so my personal opinion is I think I know what
You're
the
amongst friends.
I think I know what the right answer might be in terms of whatever. For me, I mean, school. As I understand it, for me, school originated around the Industrial Revolution. The whole purpose of that was to give a basic level of education so that they could basically prepare a workforce for the Industrial Revolution.
A workforce.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. To do what?
To
work and pay tax.
Right, work and pay tax. Right. Yeah.
Do you know, I think it was one of the King Charleses brought in tax for the first time in the UK. It was a penny in the pound, and it was just to help fight the French.
Right.
We love the French now, but it was to fight the French, to fund the war. And it just somehow stuck in the last 400 years.
Yeah,
it was a temporary measure, a bit like poll tax and council tax.
Yeah, as you say, there's a lot of permanent solutions to temporary problems going on in this world in history.
Yeah, because if you need to generate tax as a society, you need people to work and have jobs.
Yeah.
Okay, so we move on, we get out of uni, and then bottom left, probably this area, it's over half your life on average working for a living.
Yep.
Which is where most people pay the most amount of tax in their life.
Yep.
And if you're a business owner like we are,
yes,
you're paying all sorts of other taxes.
For sure.
Like corporation tax, national insurance for employees, because we deem to employ people to help the wealth of this nation. We get taxed on it. And all sorts of other taxes, but that's where the biggest burden of tax is our working life. And if we're lucky enough not to die in office, we get to retire, which is the middle picture.
Yep.
And if we're very lucky, we spend 20 years because we've led a good, healthy life and we're with the right partner in life, and we spend 20 years. Is there tax in retirement?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
of course. Everything's tax.
Yeah, certainly in this country.
Yeah, for sure.
It does vary from one country to another.
But I do know, I know.
But so the government's still taking money off our income.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, eventually, we die.
Well, we know that's taxed. And
after we're dead.
And there's a lot of talk of it being a lot more, right?
Yeah, inheritance tax.
It's going up.
Yeah. As soon as we stop breathing, the government, through I was going to say Inland Revenue, but that dates me, HMRC, the tax authorities are still taxing you after you're not breathing. So not only is tax the biggest single cost each month, it's the longest serving one.
For sure.
Because it's from birth to the afterlife.
Yeah.
So I have a cunning plan that's legal and trusted and used.
Yes.
How you can get out of that trap or mitigate it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not a tax expert or an investor. I'm not giving an
caveat that one.
This is just my personal opinion. You have to do your own research. So, these are, and thanks to a chap called Robert Kiyosaki, who I read his book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, 20 years ago. It kind of didn't mean that much to me because I was in corporate life.
Gotcha.
But I reread it a few years ago and I got some real inspiration from it. So I've kind of adapted and brought it into my life.
It's one of those books that so many people have read.
Yeah.
And I think it's like a good story where you read it, you think, that makes so much sense. And then you forget about it. And then you read it in your 30s, and then you hit your 40s, maybe you hit 50, you think, I should probably read that again, and you think, fuck me, I wish I'd done something when I was 30. Or, oh dear, I wish I'd, this is your audience, Rob, I don't used to. I'm keeping it tame for mine. But yeah, it's 100%.
So he's got some really key principles, and I've applied a couple of them in my life. So this is, I just want to share those with the audience and with you, George.
Yeah.
So most people on this planet work for a living.
For sure.
Because we have education systems that produce workers to enslave us to the system. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to be that political, but that's what it is. Churn them out of the unis, get a good degree to get a good job, to get a good salary, to pay a good level of tax.
Yeah.
Most people are there.
Yes, for sure.
Some people, and we know quite a few of them, are in self-employment.
Yeah.
Now, there's a big difference between the two, which is the amount of tax you pay. Because if you're a business owner, Sorry, if you're running your own business, you've got certain tax breaks in this country. And I know it's replicated in several other countries as well. The problem with employment is you pay the most amount of tax, you have no control over your income, unless you go to your boss and ask for more, like Oliver Twist.
Begging bowl, I call it.
Yeah, and they can say yes, or if they can say no, or if they say yes, it might be a cost of living. And be grateful for it, my boy. Or you leave the job and you go to another employer and you go through the whole thing again. There is no control. When you own your own business, you like, one of the reasons people go self-employed and leave corporate life or leave a job is to have control over their life. And I remember that was me 12 years ago. That's what I thought self-employment was. I own 100% of my startup. I can decide when I get up, decide how many holidays I have, and go first class on a train. Because I can. Because I'm in charge. The reality, of course, is a little bit different. And I know many self-employed people, the S of SME, that don't pay themselves the going rate for their job. In fact, they're the last people to get paid sometimes. They undervalue in monetary terms what they're worth to their company. Because they want to keep it ticking over. They don't want to take too much out. So they, for another reason, are still out of control.
For sure.
It's just a different reason.
For sure.
So I say keep out of the red.
Keep out of the red,
You do pay less tax if you're savvy. Because you can set up company vehicles to mitigate and reduce tax. And I know, I'm sure this doesn't apply to you and not obviously to me, but there are certain personal expenditures that can legitimately go through a business.
For sure.
Like gym membership. Because if you die because of a heart attack, that is a necessary business expense. So gym membership. I had a rapid response vehicle, which was a Harley Davidson.
Right, really?
Oh yeah. We need to get the customers.
We obviously have different accountants.
Anyway, let's move to the green. Now, the difference between self-employment and business owner, in my interpretation, is scale. So a business owner, the way I frame it, is the owner isn't needed day to day in their business. And so that means you've got a team of people that run it day to day. It's the Michael Gerber thing, it's the E-myth, isn't it? It's being on the business, not in it. So that is the transitionary point, and I spent the last decade helping business owners move from there to there.
So in the self-employed, just for me, in the self-employment box category, you're also putting in there people that own their own businesses but fundamentally are employed by their own business still.
They've got a job.
So it's wrapped in a business wrapper, but fundamentally what they are is they've given themselves...
and the acid test is if you go on holiday for 2 months, will the business collapse? If it would, it's not a business, it's a job. So these people pay even less tax. And they have multiple sources of income because in this box they usually own several businesses. And they have several sources of income. And many of them are financially independent, which is the great nirvana, and there are many people that are selling the financial independence message. Some are genuine, some less so.
Even some are genuine.
Some are genuine.
I should say some are even genuine,
Well, what is financial?
There's lots of financial advice and some of it is even genuine.
And the nirvana is investor. So that's people that don't work for a living. Like you and I.
Fundamentally hated by everybody else on this board.
Because they don't have a job. They pay the least amount of tax. They have multiple sources of income. They don't work for a living, but they put their cash to work. That's the difference. So my work is taken with moving people from the red to the green. You pay less tax, which we know is the biggest single cost for most people, and the longest serving cost. So this might be familiar to people who understand a profit and loss and a balance sheet, but I'm putting it in a personal wrapper, which is there's income and various sources of income there, examples of income. Also where there's income, there's costs, expenditure, and all sorts of things that we need to buy. So that's like a P&L in a sense, income and expenditure, money in, money out. But we also have, in our private life, assets, some of us.
Yep.
Most of us actually have assets. Sometimes we don't know.
Yeah.
Even if it's a car.
Even
my old A4, £600 A4 that I used to have. Also, I put business ownership because a business is an asset.
Yeah.
So is what's in our brain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Knowledge, expertise, experience.
For sure.
Real money. As opposed to funny money, fake money,
yeah.
as Robert would say. But where there's assets, there's often liabilities.
For sure.
Some examples. Have you ever wondered, right, why a debt vehicle is called a credit card? It should be a debt card.
Yes. Because it doesn't sound so enticing.
Really? So the marketeers have been all over it.
I imagine it's a
marketing ploy. I've got credit.
Well, for me, just looking at that, you think about the way society's run and stuff like that, and you think, okay, so we are encouraged to, not everyone, but we're encouraged to buy our own houses, for example. That's like an objective, an aim, a goal to have. Obviously, then you're mortgaged. You pay twice as much as you need to for your house, but you get to live in it for the 20 years you're buying it. And then you start looking at things, obviously, like school loan, and then you've got credit card, which is really sprung up, isn't it?
Yes.
As a way for people to get what they haven't yet earned.
Yeah.
And I think the school loan kind of makes sense because you're investing up front
for education,
right?
To create more taxpayers.
To create more taxpayers, so you can pay more tax. But maybe you can earn a little bit more when that's it. But yeah, the credit card. I've made use of credit cards. So when I was younger, I'll be honest with you, I'm not gonna lie, I had some credit card issues. Easily done. You rack them up. 10 grand doesn't cost you a lot to be paying off per month, and the thing you bought is left in the past and everything else. And I think, I think there's a out of all those there, I'm looking at them. I mean, that's the whole, isn't it? That's the whole.
It is. So those are the four dynamics you could talk about. Most people, as I said, on this planet have a job. So I'm going to show three dynamics that happen in the world. And this first one is you get a job to earn money, and you have costs. And for a lot of people, Theresa May coined this, just about managing society. People who are just about managing, i.e. they get money in, they pay stuff and money out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
She called it the jam economy.
Yeah.
Just about managing.
And that's the majority of people, right?
It is.
I'd say it's the majority of people.
Yeah.
They're just about getting by.
Yeah. So that is one dynamic.
Yeah.
So as people perhaps it don't have to be low income necessarily. No. They might have particularly high expenditure.
Do you know what? I've worked with many middle classes, over my years and in the past, coaching them. And they get trapped by their jobs. They've got really high incomes, but they have massive outgoings. So they might earn 100 grand, 200 grand, but if the outgoings are still the same, they're in exactly the same.
Well, and they might be paying big maintenance costs.
Everything,
three times over.
Well, everything just goes up, right?
Yes. So that's a lot of people that are in that dynamic.
For sure.
There are other people that aren't, and they're credit worthy, so they can take out mortgages, credit cards, all sorts of debt, and that of course increases their expenditure and their money out. Those two dynamics pretty much covers the vast majority of the population.
For sure. And I would argue, I know where you're going with this, but I would argue even for the majority of people that maybe do the third model you're about to share with us, I would still say that the majority of people, that's the model for the majority of their life, even if they end up in what you're going to show us. Yeah. It's like it takes a lot to break free of this.
Yeah, it does, because that whole system is designed to keep you in a job.
For sure.
And mortgage is a French word. In fact, it's two French words, mort and gage, which means death trap. Again, the marketeers don't use that.
No.
With the building societies and the banks.
French calling it as it is once again.
Death trap. But it does, it keeps you enslaved to the system.
Yeah.
And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but you're tied in. Because you're working for money, not money working for you.
There's no question. So we're sitting here and I'm looking at this and in my head, I'm well aware of the traps and look, for society to function in the way that it was created. So again, you don't be a conspiracy theorist. It was created to work in a certain way. and this is how it was meant to work. And the money is either being earned and then put into taxes, or it's put into loans and debts and mortgages, and it's moving. It's not sitting. You don't own it. You don't own the money. It passes through you. Sometimes I call currency. I call it currency. You know, like electricity. And it kind of passes through you.
So
and it's a lifestyle you're creating. But actually, if it all just passes through you, you might as well be broke. Well, you are broke, arguably, right? You might just shine brighter for a period of time. Fundamentally, you're as broke, if you like, in terms of you're in the same trap, right?
Spot on.
Yeah.
And what you're describing is cash flow.
Right. Yeah.
So I often explain cash flow in these terms. If you think about a pair of jeans, positive cash flow is money going into the pocket.
Yeah.
Negative cash flow, perhaps you've got a hole in your pocket.
Okay.
That is negative cash flow.
Yeah.
So there is another way to these two systems that is pretty common in the vast majority of countries. There is another way, and it's green.
Okay.
So not environmentally, but it's green for a reason.
Yeah.
So the wealthiest people on this planet don't have a job.
Yes, for sure.
Because I just looked at the tax regimes for one. They buy assets.
Yeah.
Now, reality is most of us need a job to start somewhere to generate some income.
Yeah.
So the encouragement then is not to spend all of your income if you can manage it. And we've already proven that for 30 quid a month, you can save in silver.
Yeah.
Which has gone up 49% in the last 12 months. No investment advice, but
Yeah. Just facts.
yeah, because I bought it at 18 quid.
Right. Gotcha. Right. Okay.
I forgot to sell it.
I did see.
In 12 months.
I saw both silver and gold's gone crazy.
Yeah, silver particularly because it's undervalued and it's an industrial metal. But but these are volatile things.
Yeah.
But then this is volatile because I can just print more and devalue the currency and end up like Zimbabwe, Venezuela.
Well, for sure. Nothing.
The Weimar Republic.
Nothing that is being said is being construed as advice. Bob.
So the wealthiest people who tend to pay the least amount of tax. Yeah. Actually, do you know why? Why did governments let the wealthiest people get away with the least tax burden?
I feel I know this somewhere dark in the recesses of my brain, but it's not serving me now. Go on, tell me. Remind me.
Because they want to.
That was the answer I thought.
Well, you think when you have times of austerity and recession, there's a rally cry, particularly on social media: tax the rich.
Yes.
The rich don't pay tax. What they mean is tax the middle class and the working class.
For sure. Yeah.
Because we are the people that pay the most tax.
Yeah. Tax the wealthy, not the rich.
So go on to companies like Amazon, and not just Amazon, all sorts of companies and rich individuals. Governments want those companies and those billionaires and multimillionaires to invest in their country.
Yeah.
So they give them tax breaks.
Yeah.
Because companies like that, people like that, create jobs.
Yeah.
So the revenue authorities, whether you're in Britain, America, wherever, France, Germany, they want lots of taxpayers.
Well,
so why not let the entrepreneurs, the big entrepreneurs, and the big companies, and they'll create jobs, which will create people that will spend money in the economy and pay tax.
Yeah.
So it's a commercial judgment on behalf of HMRC.
I've heard this, because obviously we're always outraged when we see these big companies not paying their tax, and then the argument is always the same, right? They create the jobs, and if you don't give them a tax break, they'll go somewhere else. They'll give them a tax break, and what you need is 10,000 people employed.
Or 60,000 with Amazon and all the rest of it. So that's how it is. We either like it or we don't, but that's the reality of it. So people in this area that buy assets, they're buying income producing assets. And they're getting double bubble because their assets will grow in value over the longer term, but those assets will also produce income. And that's the perfect thing. You get two out of one. They very wealthy people, they have expenditure. You've got to keep that Rolls Royce filled up. Or Maserati. And they usually have, because you can't spend everything, surplus. And what they do with their surplus cash is they buy more assets. And that whole cycle just keeps repeating. So we like to get over there. Because one day we won't need to work for a living, because we will just have assets that produce income, that pay our bills, and have some surplus, and then we buy more assets. That's the challenge. is to get away from the drug of salaries and jobs to building assets. But you can start quite modest, 30 quid for the silver.
Yep.
You can put into a pension. I never put into a... I didn't have to put into a pension in NatWest because they put money in for free.
For free?
From 18.
Yeah.
And that pot was worth over £1 million. And I didn't have to put anything in.
Yeah. I think one of the issues we've got, which basically what I was kind of getting at with the credit card thing, especially more than anything else, is the idea that what we've got is a mindset of consumerism that's been instilled in us, like as a culture, almost from birth, right?
Yeah.
And then what we've got is this consumerist mindset, which is, especially when you're younger, right? The future seems so far away. Yeah. So why would you? Let's say you earn £1,000 a month as a first job or something. Why would you put even £30 into silver, or let alone a couple of £100 into a pension or long-term investment? Why would you do that when that 200 quid buys you another 3-4 nights out, or gets you a nicer car? And what happens is we get completely trapped. And it is a trap, and it's one that serves other people, not ourselves, right? So we buy products that we don't necessarily need. We spend money that we probably shouldn't. We spend money but we don't even have yet. You know, and then what happens, of course, is we get completely buried. And you know, coming back to what we were saying about the trap, you know, I want to keep laying on this credit card thing again, because what the credit card does, but they all do it, the mortgage does it as well, the bank loans, everything else. But what they do, of course, is they keep you trapped in the cycle of income, because you get to, let's say you have a greedy couple of years, and you know, you put a load of, you know, let's say you get a house, a couple of £100 grand, the mortgage says, be modest there, an overdraft, a few £1,000 there, 10 grand of credit cards, bang, you can do that overnight, right? In terms of gaining that credit, school loans. So you're now there, maybe 250 grand or something in debt, right? Yeah. Well, now, of course, you have to keep the job, because you've got to pay off. So it's not even about necessarily maintaining the life that you've got. It's more about paying off the life you've already lived. And of course, from that place there, it's so hard. So even when you get wise to this, which is normally a little bit too late, you're now trapped in a situation where you want to get over here, but it's hard to make that break, even when you know it's the thing to do, because you've gone and already got yourself, mindset-wise you're trapped, because you're in that consumerist mindset, in the hand-to-mouth, and also you're now trapped by the very things that you thought were a gift 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
So if you're a millennial, or even an avocado generation, I don't know what the one is that follows the millennials. Maybe it hasn't been named yet.
Is it Z or X or what are we?
That's well, you're Generation X.
I'm X, am I? Right.
Yeah, I'm a baby boomer, because I'm older than you.
Right.
I'm a late baby boomer.
Late baby boomer.
So you're right. So any millennials out there, so if you're in your mid-20s and 30s, my encouragement would be to buy assets while you can. So, and you don't have to be buying lots. And in fact, you can be buying property, real estate, with someone else's money.
Do you know what? I saw a guy, right, again, for some reason last night, I got hooked on this stuff. I won't say what it is, but there's a story going around we were talking about earlier on, about a very famous property guy, probably one of the biggest out there, most famous on the internet, who's in the process of potentially, you know, falling down quite dramatically. And I went from that, and I started to see people commenting on it. And I saw this guy who started his property empire. I think he was like 23 or 24, and he started with a bit of help from his dad, like, you know, co-signing on the first mortgage. But his whole mindset, because his father-in-law was in property, his whole mindset was asset building, not house buying. So he was looking for a house that was undervalued, that he could do up while he was living there. He earned peanuts in a job, but actually he sold the house. I think it was 2 years later, made 100 grand on it, which equates to 50 grand income if you like, while he was living in it. And he started the hard way, right? Which was, you know, buy one day, and then instead of selling the house, selling the asset, which is what we all do, right? We sell the house to buy a bigger house rather than keeping the house, renting that house, releasing the equity from that house, and then I don't know if you're going down that route or not, Rob. And I watched this guy, and literally, he was like 28 years old. This guy had multiple £1 million portfolio of property, just because instead of living in the red, his whole mindset, even though he was still working, obviously, his whole mindset was green.
Yeah, no, it's an asset. The only exception to real estate not being an asset is if you live in it.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a liability. For sure. You've got the mortgage, you've got to heat it, because you're living in the asset, you're not generating income. No. In fact, it's negative cash flow, because it's expensive to own your own home. However, if you buy real estate and then rent it out, now you've got a business. Because that's a commercial model.
Well, that's what he did.
Generates income.
That's what he did. And he did the houses up, made extra money, and released the equities. And obviously the market's going up. Used that money, buy houses, rent them out. And that's what he's got.
So that's my encouragement is that is where we should end up,
And
sooner rather than later.
And you said this, right? And you know, if there's one gift you could give yourself, you know, when you were younger, it would be like start putting this there.
So start putting it. And
It seems so far away. When you're 20, 25, 30, and especially when you start getting your first house, or you start having your kids, or you start, you know, the future seems so far away, doesn't it, right?
it does.
And then by the time it catches up on you, you're then in a place where you're playing a little bit catch up.
It doesn't have to be boring like pensions.
No.
Right? I'm not saying you shouldn't put into a pension because
I like a box of gold. I fancy a box of gold.
That is exciting.
That's exciting,
right? Yeah. The problem with that is security. So I have a safe, and as it builds, I'll have to put it in a safety deposit,
Sure.
which can be robbed by old age pensioners. Do you remember that one? The jewellery
Yes.
heist.
Yes.
They're all over 60.
Oh, they were
and some diabetes.
Yeah, well, all bunch of old people, yeah, they were.
So anyway, it doesn't have to be boring. Putting stuff away and building an asset base can be very exciting. So I'm just going to share, because I like to make myself vulnerable. I think it's a good thing because it's authenticity, right? This is my strategy. I'm not recommending it as an investment strategy or something for future life.
Yeah.
Get that disclaimer in. But this is what I'm doing right now. So I've got 4 things that I'm doing. I want to buy undervalued assets because why do you want to pay at the top of the market when you can buy cheaply an asset that will grow in value and generate an income?
For sure.
Number 1, touched on it.
Yeah.
Buy property not to live in but to rent it out. Let someone else pay your costs.
Yep.
And I'm home and abroad, so we are going to buy a second house in the UK, which we're going to live in, and we're going to keep the one we're currently in, and we're going to rent it out.
Yeah.
And someone else can pay our mortgage.
Yeah. And you know what? Just come back. I said it a minute ago, didn't I? I jumped the gun a bit, but
Yeah.
like no one. When I say no one, very few people think like this because we've never been told this. You know, when you look at the average transition, you buy a house, you sell your house, you upgrade to a bigger house, right?
Yeah.
No one tells you never sell a house. Like keep the house that you had before. You've still got the same equity in that house to use on the bigger house, but keep the other house, right?
I know.
And we just don't think like that.
I know.
Right.
Now, I used to sell mortgages for NatWest.
Of course you did.
Yeah, and I sold them very well, and NatWest is a very good company.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not just NatWest. All mortgage companies, what they don't tell you, if you have a 25-year term mortgage, you pay treble the amount of original mortgage.
Right.
Treble.
Yeah.
So it's a good industry if you want to lend out money.
If you're playing the long game, it is.
If you're playing the long game. So we're going to buy abroad as well. What we're waiting for is a property crash, both in the UK and overseas, which is surely coming.
Your timing's right.
So next year, going to have a little look-see.
Yeah.
And Dubai actually is a really good place to buy real estate right now.
Okay.
When I was at Burj Khalifa earlier this year, I was approached by a salesperson, real estate, showing me a new development with the world's biggest tower, not the Burj Khalifa, they're building another one.
The new one.
Yeah, so the Burj Khalifa will be the second highest. Well, the Burj Khalifa will be the highest building.
Yeah.
The bigger one is just a tower. No one's going to live in it.
Yeah,
so they're going to have both categories. Why just have one category when you can create 2? But there's real estate all around it with moorings as well. And for about 250 grand, you can have a 2-bedroom waterside apartment with a mooring in Dubai.
Yeah, well,
5-star lifestyle.
Yeah.
So there's deals out there. I just don't want to live in Dubai.
No.
So the second strategy is to buy distressed businesses. So those are companies that are struggling, which there is, even though they've got problems, there is a valuable underlying business model waiting to get out. And I've always said that businesses never fail, it's the business owners that fail, because we take the decisions.
For sure.
So I'm actually starting this week.
Okay.
I'm going to buy 10 companies over the next 2 years. And all of them they're going to be struggling, because I think there might be 1 or 2 companies that might struggle in the economy.
Yeah.
Once we've got over the initial...
As again, your timing's pretty spot on.
Yeah, and it's not only to buy at a sensible price, it's actually, they've got to be businesses that I understand and I believe can be turned around. But I'm not going to do the work, I'm going to parachute in a team of people.
Yeah.
So I'm creating work for other people.
Makes sense, yeah.
I've just got to come up with the money to buy it.
Yeah. I think
being an investor.
So I think, you know what? Truthfully, as long as this is done right, as long as this is done honestly with integrity, then I think this is a great strategy. I think some people, the game they talk, again, we know people, and it just sounds horrible what they're doing. What they're trying to do is exploit other people's pain. Whereas actually, if you do this for the right reasons, what you're doing is you're reinvigorating a business. You're relieving the business owner of their pain, right? Whilst also maintaining the jobs and that for the people that are in that business.
Trading name and the legacy.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think as long as it has the right... Obviously, we're talking purely about money now, so I get it, right? It's all about money, and this is a good financial strategy. But actually, I think, as long as all this stuff, as long as you do it with the right integrity and the right honesty for the right reasons and stuff, and of course, yes, you're going to benefit from this as well. Yeah. But you're creating something that's good as well. You're not just sitting there trying to...
Exactly. It's rescuing. In some cases, it's rescuing because with some businesses, the next stage is insolvency.
Yeah. Totally get you.
Then you've lost it all, and the creditors.
Yeah, got you. Yeah,
so actually, if you can turn around a business, you're helping the creditors as well because they want to get paid.
Yeah.
And HMLC, of course, our friend, who's the preferred creditor.
They sit around it. All of this.
They're like God, really.
All around it.
They're like God.
There's no way. They're always getting paid.
We love tax inspectors.
They're always getting paid.
But we can't eat a whole one. Right, so number 3. We've touched on precious metals. Gold and silver are my choice. Actually, silver more than gold. Not because of the upfront cost on the coin. Actually, I think there's more growth potential in silver because I think it's undervalued.
Right.
Like you, I thought to buy an ounce of silver would be a lot more than it actually is.
And even if you told me that was £1,600 for that gold, I still would have said a couple of £100 or so for that silver.
Interesting, isn't it?
I still would say I would have thought silver was that much cheaper, but I didn't think it was that much cheaper.
Yeah, and the downside with precious metals is it's volatile.
Yeah.
But then so's this funny fake money.
Yeah.
You wait for superinflation the world over the next few years.
Yeah.
and during a recession, people tend to go into gold, switch their cash into gold because it's a store of wealth.
Yeah.
And an ounce of gold will always be an ounce of gold.
Yeah.
So the fourth one, just so people don't think I'm knocking pensions, that's got to be part of a balanced portfolio, really, because the tax break, there's treble tax relief on pensions in the UK. It's a really tax-efficient way to save for the longer term. And when we get old and grey, and we can't do things like this because we can't get on the stools because our arthritis won't let us. We'll be grateful for that.
We'll just be lower slung chairs. We'll still be doing it, Rob. We'll just be doing it lower slung chairs.
So that's my strategy. Doesn't have to be yours. I just want to give you a window into my thinking because that might trigger something with you, and you think, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I agree.
So last slide, and it's just a roundup. So some key things I'd like people to take away really from this session, which is try and get away from a salary and being a slave to the system and paying the most amount of tax than anyone, and get into cash flow, i.e. buying assets to produce income, produce a positive cash flow. It's a transition. It doesn't happen overnight. It will take years and years and years, but it's good to have the end destination in mind.
Yeah.
Number 2, as we discovered right from, and it cost you a bottle of JD. Real money is not. This is funny money. Yeah. It's paper. In fact, you could argue that the £20 note and the Monopoly are actually the same because this is guaranteed by Mr. Monopoly.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Which is about the same as the chief cashier at the Bank of England.
He probably looks similar, I imagine.
And I've spent the last 20 years working with business owners to move them from being an operator in their business, an owner-reliant business, to being an investor. And again, it takes years and years, but wouldn't it be lovely to earn more money but do less work?
For sure. Sounds all right.
Wouldn't that be great?
That's right.
Try and build assets rather than change jobs, because that's what the main population do on the planet. Build assets so you don't need a job one day. Maybe you can employ other people. And yes, like it or love it, the richest people in the world.
It is what it is, right? You know, until we get a better system, that's the way it is. I think if I was going to add just one of there from
go for it.
It's start early, right? And that's only something for me since I've got of a certain age, and I think back, and I remember thinking, you know, all my 20s, you're distracted by everything in your 20s, right? In your 30s, you're distracted by real life, you know, mortgages or kids and things like this. And then typically, and I think this is true, and it's certainly true from financial advisors we both know, which is most people tend to wake up in their mid-40s or so, you know, they start to realise that they don't have the future, you know, they're going to have to work forever, or you know, and I just very doom and gloom kind of curve, which is actually, you know, you have your income where, you know, when you're younger you're kind of broke, you know, but it doesn't really matter. Then you get your first jobs and stuff. You have quite a lot of disposable income actually, because you might earn 10, 15, 20 grand, whatever, but it's all yours, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially if you still live at your mum's like I did for way too long. So it's all your money, right? And then you realise you earn more money, but you get poorer because you get the mortgage and the kids and whatever. And then what happens is the kids go off to university, mine have just literally gone off this year, and I see a lot of people where they're at their wealthiest on the old model, right, you know, the hand-to-mouth model, at their wealthiest when the kids have left the coop, and they're obviously at their peak in their career, right? So let's say let's say like 45 to about 55 years old. This is when they go on cruises and they have expensive holidays. This is where they might get a slightly nicer car and stuff. Because what happens, of course, is now the kids are no longer their financial responsibilities. Their mortgages, if they've done it smart, their mortgages are nowhere near what they should be for the house they're living in. So they live in a £500,000 house, but they're paying mortgage on a 200 grand house because they, you know, history. And suddenly they've got a massive amount of disposable income, and the life peaks, you know, for a lot of people, at 45 to 55 or so, really peaks the quality of life. And then, of course, you stop working, or you lose your big high-powered job and you start getting lesser paid jobs, and then you get poorer and poorer, and then you retire and you're broke again, you know. And your thing there showed that, you know, you could be in retirement for 20 years or more, you know. So you could be broke when you were a kid and reliant on dad. You then broke there, and then in the middle you have this little bit of wealth when you're kind of independent. Then you're kind of not struggling, but you know, you're a lot of people in that struggling phase we talk about, and then you have a peak of moment when you feel wealthy again. That's why you've got the you know, the amount of money, you know, the 45 to 55 year olds. It's a huge market for people to tap into financial income, right? And then you realise it starts to run out. And I think a lot of people they get to that age, right, mid 40s or so, and they realise that yes, they feel wealthy, etc. But now there's a lot of catching up to do. Whereas we just started earlier, right? Just started earlier. So, which you can't do unless you're in your 20s, in which case do it. Listen to these people.
Learn from the old guys.
I ignored everyone that was in their 40s when I was 20. But listen, start now. And for the rest of us, right? It's that transition, right? Do what you can. Yeah.
And I would say you work with a lot of business owners. Have done over the years, and continue to be so. If you want to talk about, if you're a business owner listening to this and you want to get out of the trap, have a chat with George. How to transition from where you are to where you want to be. I've been a member of their mastermind group for the last 8-9 years, and it's really helped me plan in the long term, and building assets base is part of that. Plan in the long term, because you're more likely to, if you've got something to aim for, you're more likely to hit it.
For sure.
Give George a call, because him and Tracy that run the mastermind groups and success groups are really valuable forums and groups to be able to grow and get to where you want to get. Most people, actually, business owners that lack a long-term vision and tactics as to how to achieve it, never get there.
No.
Some of them die. Before they ever realise the things, their bucket list. They never get to the bucket list because they've kicked the bucket. Give George a call, get in contact with him. If you're in employment, but you're thinking about starting a business, you'd be interested in talking with
we are actually
people that are starting up.
Well, it's interesting to say, well, I don't know if you know this or not, but actually one of the things we're looking at, given the state of what's going on in the world right now, we think a lot of people, they are trapped by the jobs. You've got all the furlough schemes, etc. I don't know when you're watching this, but who knows where we'll be in 6 months' time. We record this and it becomes too out of date. But you know, we just come off that, and I think you know, it's interesting where we operate from. So yeah, of course, you know, we've seen you on your journey for what, over a decade now, Rob, and it's been amazing to see you go to that transition from having that job to creating a successful business, to having the quality of life that you've earned and deserve for yourself, to then transitioning into this phase you're going into now. And it's been really good to see that. What we're about really is those early stages, right? Which is, you know, how do you get from a business that hopefully is at least giving you a salary. A lot of businesses, they don't even get that. As you said, they were on 60 grand in corporate and they're making do with 20 grand out there in business. But actually, for me, it's that a business is one of the best mechanisms. Obviously, there's 100 different ways of making money, but a business is a really good mechanism because you're in control of your own wealth. You're in control of the amount you can earn. A job, you can go from 20 grand to 25 grand. You get promoted, you might go to 30 grand, and if you do a really good sideways shift, you might get to 40 grand. It's a really slow way of doing it. In business, you know this because you've done it yourself. You can go from 50 grand to 100 grand in a year. You can go from 100 grand to $250,000 in a year. You can go from $250,000 to $500,000 a year. And within a 10-year career as a business owner, you can start to build the kind of money, the income, the revenue that you need in order to seriously start looking at this model.
And enjoy the life you really want to enjoy. So do get in touch. Do feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. We're quite prolific. George will take all the calls. I'll take the JD and Coke.
Do you know what? I'm gonna do one back with you, Rob, and I'm gonna trap you.
Anyway, thank you for your time. Hopefully you've taken a few things away with you. Get in touch with us on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Awesome. Cheers.